guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the singers and everyone for having us. I think if you read the conference title for this talk, you probably thought, proteins, incredible machines. That sounds scary. Am I eating proteins that are machines every day? And that was a thought that I first had when I learned about what proteins were capable of. And I want to walk you through at least my journey with protein and how we think about protein in society, because for me, it was really an eye-opening experience to realize how, as someone who doesn't have a PhD in microbiology, I could start talking about proteins after about 4 to 5 years working with them. So, Grant, I'm the CEO and co-founder of FabricNano. This is a company that's been around for 5 years. We have about 30 employees working in London. We're deep tech, climate tech, sim bio. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of R&D. And so let me start walking you through it. We have some slides. Are they on that side? There you go. So essentially, to me, proteins are always and will always be magical. They are an incredible thing. They are machines. Now, instead of staying in the fluff for too long and talking about my favorite quote of all time, I'm going to go straight to the practical. We want to engineer around these incredible machines. We want to think about engineering and practical applications for proteins as they can be used as machinery. And what I would like to do is I would like to go through one of the canonical examples that people use in biology all the time. And so that's an expression that goes like this. DNA makes RNA makes protein. And that's all we really learn about biology if you're in primary school like I was learning about biology. And it stops there. And I want to ask, what does protein do? And a lot of people don't know exactly what protein does. They think, I eat protein. Protein is in my food, and that's great. But protein makes chemicals. Protein makes all the chemicals we need. It can make every single chemical we need. And those chemicals get turned into materials. And those materials are all the things we know we need to live in a more sustainable way with the environment. And so I just want to look at all of these different materials here and think, is protein capable of making chemicals that are then made into these materials? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. We can use protein to make all of these different chemicals. And if you stop and you think, what does the world need to do to be sustainable? Well, it needs to have both materials and energy. And I think a huge important thing for us to learn about is how we could be making materials in a more sustainable way. And if you look at this image, and I know it's quite small, these presentation slides, here you're looking at a forest, and you're looking at a gorilla, and you're looking at a shell. And I'm just trying to give you an idea of the range of the types of chemicals we can make with proteins. We can make every single piece of that forest. We can make the green leaves, we can make the wood, we can make the bark. It's all because proteins are expressed in those living systems. And we can make the hair on the gorilla's head. That's a very different material, but we can make it using protein inside of that living organism. And we can even make the hardness and the rigidity of a seashell. And so I ask, if proteins are this incredible as machinery, if they are the operating system for the material world, well then, what do we know about them? And in 2020, 2021, AlphaFold, a DeepMind project, comes along, and it shows us that we can predict what these proteins look like. We can look at billions and billions of these proteins, and we can understand them. We can look at their structure, and we can say, that can make this chemical. I can generate a brand new protein that can make this chemical. And so if we have this operating system, if we have this thing that can give us all these biological chemicals and these biological materials, I'm a technology optimist. Why don't we have this in the world today? Can we make proteins at scale? Yes, we can. I mean, we can run reactors that have yeast or E. coli in them, and we can produce protein en masse. Can we make enough of it? Yeah, we run them in these bioreactors that make beer. We have them all over the world. We can ferment protein, and we can make as much of it as we need. And what does it look like? It looks like the whey protein powder that you might have put into your shake this morning and be asking, should I have done that? It's pretty weird. Grant's telling me it's a machine. Yeah, but it looks like that. We see this every day, but we don't investigate whether or not these proteins can do something useful for the sustainability challenges that we have. And so where are we today? Where is this incredible operating system today? What can we make? Well, we can make one thing using protein today in an industrial reactor, and that is high fructose corn syrup. Not very motivational that we can make just fructose corn syrup out of this. But we today can take glucose and we can convert, is that the right chart? Yeah. No. That one. We can take glucose and we can make fructose. And so today we swivel that tiny bond at the top using a protein, and all of a sudden we make 15 billion kilograms of fructose. It's made using a protein in a reactor industrially every single day around the world. And what we're missing is we're not even capable of going from fructose to this thing called allulose. And I'm using that as an example because it's another single protein that can get us to that swivel there that's highlighted. And allulose is an actual healthy sugar. It's natural. It occurs in figs and maple syrup at very, very low quantities. But if you create allulose en masse, you can make it into candy bars. You can make it into all these different things because it's very similar to fructose, but it has a negative glycemic index, meaning it is the diabetic's healthy sugar. It would solve obesity. And why don't we have this? Why don't we have a protein that can go from fructose to allulose? Well, here I'm showing you what happens when we try to use this incredible machine in a reactor. In about 2 days, the protein that takes us from fructose to allulose as a chemical, it dies completely. And if you think about protein as a machine, if you think about these proteins as these metal gears, it's not in the right environment. So proteins don't like to be used in industrial reactors. They're not very good at it. That's why we have only one example of it that's used internationally as an actual industrial process. And so what we're trying to accomplish at FabricNano is we are capable of taking that protein to make allulose, this healthy sugar, and we're capable of running that thing in a reactor without it dropping in its activity whatsoever over the course of at least a week. I'm showing you 2 days here, but we've run this thing for at least a week in our labs. And what we think is holding back this whole system, this operating system from making sustainable materials, is the fact that we don't treat protein as machinery, and we don't look at the environment in which those machines are used. If you leave these cogs or this kind of machine out in the wild, of course the cogs will rust. If you treat it with the right environment, the machine operates for a very long time. And so I just want us to think about how incredible this could be. Every single material that we have, every single thing that we want to make, we could be making with protein if we just understood how to use it in these reactors. I've got a lot of ideas of things I'd like to see. I'd like to see bio-based plastics. I'd love to see biofuels. I'd love to see all the materials we use in clothing, like nylons and things like that. And at FabricNano, we've played around with all those different systems. And we're capable of stabilizing protein to make all of those different chemicals. And so in the future, what we're planning on working on at FabricNano is this problem. We work on healthy sugars, we work on versions of plastic, but I love this statistic, which is that we've created over 8 billion tons of waste for 8 billion people on this planet today. And that's just going to go up and up and up and exponentially increase. And so if you look at 1 ton of plastic waste per person, we need to solve that issue. And the only way that I can think of to solve that issue, the use of materials by humanity, which is of course something we will always need to do, is to start engaging with the operating system of nature, the operating system that is fundamentally making all these materials, and that is the protein. At FabricNano, what we do is we're creating a sustainable future, and it's powered by protein. Most people don't know protein can even do this. Our systems are extremely scalable. We take a protein, and we put it on what looks like an industrial bead that sits in a reactor. It's that simple. That's the environment. That's what makes it safe. And we screen for that. We use lots of really cool techniques. But we're really excited because over the next year, we're going to be taking this technology out of the lab and into some industrial applications. And I'm really happy to share this vision with you, and I'm happy that we could talk through some of the technology of FabricNano. Thank you, everybody.